propias acciones. Geshe Ngawang Sherap fue educado para monje en un monasterio del Tíbet. Intenta responder a estas preguntas a través de la filosofía budista que practica.
How we become negative? What attitude of our what mental attitude can be considered as negative, or which kind of mental attitude can be considered as positive? This is very important, because if we don't understand what kind of attitude, mental attitude is negative, then we would not be able to avoid those negative mental attitudes. First of all, whenever we are going to do anything, there is always an intention behind what we think, what we say, and what we do. So this intention has to be always good. Because whatever you make an intention, say suppose if you want to do something for yourself, what you do should not harm other people. That's something very important. Even though it brings benefit to yourself, but this benefit should not cause harm to other people. So you see, you do something for your own benefit which doesn't affect other people negatively. That's very important. So therefore, this intention in your motivation and intention is very important. First of all, it has to be positive. It should not be negative. Then we have to understand this. Many of our attitudes are arising from ignorance. We do not know the things very clearly. We like something and we don't like something. So our liking is coming from where? Is it based on some fact? Is it based on some right understanding? Most of the time, our liking is not based on facts and is not based on good understanding, correct understanding. So therefore, what we like and what we don't like, we have to really check why we like certain things and why we don't like certain things. So suppose, say, I like to do this kind of activity, then I must be able to know why I like. It has a benefit. It doesn't harm anybody. Then it's okay. But I like to do some things, but it may not have a benefit for me. It may also be harming other people. Then my liking is not good. And then secondly, it's very important to understand what we like now may not be very beneficial in the long term. So therefore, even if we like something now for the time being, if it is not beneficial in the long term, we should not go for that thing. And if there is something is very beneficial in the long term, but not something that we can enjoy or we may like it in time for the time being, even then we must not avoid that thing. Because in the long term it is good, but then when it's good in the now and in the future, it is no problem. When it is bad now and bad in the future, it is no problem. The difficulty is when we are not able to enjoy something now, even though it is good for us in the long term. So therefore we have difficulty making a decision for this kind of thing. So this kind of should be very clear. Many times in our life, we become unhappy because something is happening to us. But then, what that happening to us, we are not very clear. Simply because we don't like this is happening. So we have to learn that because we don't like something, we should not try to avoid. Because many things happening, like for instance, anger, we try to react in a negative way. Somebody may be saying, somebody may have done something to you, but it is always not necessary that the person is fully responsible for that. You have an attitude, and that person becomes a condition at that time. So your anger, expression of anger and becoming the reaction to that in a negative way is not beneficial at all for you, and of course it is also going to harm other people. So therefore, even if you have an anger for whatever reason, you first try to understand what was the reason that brought me to this situation of feeling bad and getting angry. So you begin to see this deeply, give a little time in understanding before you react. Then you are able to control many of the negativities in our life. Every time in our life, we tend to react immediately. So the reaction always brings a negative result. So therefore we must learn to see that instead of reacting, can can we learn to respond to the situation? It's a very, very important thing. Can we learn to respond to the situation without reaction? Because if we respond to the situation, first we have to think a little bit. And since we think it, we might not make the mistakes. The reactions come so automatically. We don't have the time to think about what we are saying and what we are thinking and what we are doing. So therefore, instead of reacting, we learn to respond to the situation. This is very important thing. This is what we learn in Buddhism. Buddha says, you have to be aware of what you are doing and thinking and acting in the moment. So therefore he says, don't react immediately. Only after thinking what is happening, then you try to respond to that situation. It's a possibility that somebody may be saying something to you, but you can respond in a positive way. You don't have to react in a negative way. There is a problem. We can solve that problem by not reacting to that situation. And that is called what we call as developing patience. Patience means waiting to understand the situation. In another way, patience means having the capacity to understand. If you have a little time to understand, then you have the patience. If you develop a little bit of patience, then you will understand more. So therefore, understanding and patience is a kind of a, one brings the other. The amount of patience you have will be possible to bring you more understanding. If you understand more and more, there is less difficulty in our life. So difficulties in our life is because we do not understand. So therefore, the very key note in Buddhism is understanding. Yourself, others, the situation, whatever the problem or the situation that is happening there, we need to understand. That's very important. If we give the time to understanding, I think many of the problems are no longer problems. They are just situations.